Welcome to the Strange Saloon. I'm M-Balm. This is Zero.
Hello.
Back at it again with another episode. Today we got some things we're going to talk about. One being a location here notable in the upstate New York region, being one of the most haunted places here yet. That is known as the Rolling Hills Asylum. We're going to talk about that place. I have been there for 3, investigations.
Let's see.
Yes. Nothing obviously official, done on video or anything like that and uploaded to YouTube, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But, a lot of good feedback for the first episode that we did. I want to say that, a lot of you have reached out and said, that you enjoyed it by not only reacting, but some of the people that have reached out and said that they enjoyed it. But just don't forget, you can join into the conversation by emailing the Strange Saloon by just doing just that, Strange Saloon Podcast at gmail.com. You can go there and check it out, because you know what? That's how you get your story across. That is how we get to start strange conversations involving you.
And us and things. And weird
us
stuff.
And things and weird, strange stuff and, all the above, because that's what we do. We talk about the weird, the strange, and the bizarre. Right?
Everything in between.
And everything else in between.
Yeah.
So, this is going to be about Rolling Hills. We're going to dive into some of the stuff that, we know to date and all the above. Talk about personal experiences that I've had there as I investigated there. But, the one thing I will say is, along with all that and all the other locations that are in the area, there's a lot of, especially with Rochester, New York, and the surrounding areas, there's so much here that you can dive into when it comes to the paranormal. There's also other things that are unexplainable that I wouldn't say are paranormal, but very bizarre.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of things that we'll definitely touch upon. But with that being said, let's talk about Rolling Hills for a moment. So the plan for our platform is that we eventually will go to places physically. We will do investigations at some point. But with Rolling Hills, I can 110% tell you and promise you that we will most likely, if not most definitely, not be investigating that place. The reason being is it's because it's against the rules and regulations of the owner and the establishment itself to not go there and film or take photos of anything, edit it, and put it into a documentary-style video. That's just their rules. That's just what that's their wishes. We respect their wishes, and that is what we will do. So instead of going there, we will talk about it, because that's all we can really do.
Yeah, bring attention to other people's experiences that we've heard and seen, or that you've seen or experienced yourselves.
Yeah.
Like you.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not going to include video or photo that I've taken there, because again, that might be a little risky, and I would much rather just, again, respect their wishes. But we can definitely talk about the experiences and go from there. As a place that's been around for a long time, especially the most notable spirits like Roy. Mm-hmm. Roy was, at a very young age, dropped off at this place by his family because he had gigantism. He was, I believe, like 7 foot tall or more. And his family, back in those times, though, let's be honest, like, there was a lot of different things that were believed in, and a lot of different thought processes back then. I don't necessarily agree with it, but his family dropped him off, and he lived the remainder of his days in that asylum.
Wild.
Kind of wild, right?
Mm. Just because he was tall.
Yeah, I mean, so, back in the day, they viewed people with things like that just as...
If you're different, we don't like it.
Yeah.
We're afraid of it because we can't explain it.
And you got to understand, like, this was his own family, his own parents.
Right.
If I remember correctly from going there and talking to the people that run it, I believe that Roy's mother went there to visit him periodically. Mm. I don't believe his father ever did. But he did end up going there, and he ended up dying there as he got older. I've been in this man's bedroom in that place. His bed is just phenomenally huge. I mean, it is a gigantic bed for a gigantic man.
I can imagine for somebody who's over 7 foot tall. I mean, wild.
It is wild. It is wild. You know, I went there 3 times, and at one point, I don't know if it was the second investigation or if it was the third, but I do remember he liked classical music.
Mm.
And I remember finding some classical music and playing it in his room and outside of his room in the hallway. And I believe the one night we went there, I believe it was either actually his birthday on that day or it was becoming his birthday.
Mm.
So I think it wasn't his birthday. It was like coming up to it.
Right.
Because I think they had a little celebration there. But, you know, we said happy birthday. I played him the music. It was nice though. Like, and you got a good feeling out of that room. You know, and that's just the thing about that. Like, people don't understand until they get to these locations that you can actually pick up physically how a room feels.
Absolutely.
You know? But some people don't understand it, I guess. And
I feel like it's one of those things that, like, I mean, obviously people who believe this stuff, but like, it's one of those things that you don't understand until you physically feel it and experience it yourself.
Correct.
Because it's just like with anything, with the proof, it's there.
Yeah. If you're wondering what Rolling Hills Asylum was, it's located in East Bethany, New York. It was originally the Genesee County Poor Farm. It opened in the cold winter of 1826 and quickly filled up with people in need of assistance. A poor farm or poorhouse, later called an asylum, was an institution that the government or a charitable organization established. They provided housing for orphans, widowed women and their children, the disabled, the mentally ill, the minor criminals. The residents were called inmates, regardless of their reasoning of being there, which may hint at how people were treated in such places. You know? So you got to understand that some of these people were mixed in with, you know, violent criminals, people that were mentally unstable, and there was nothing wrong with them. They were just there because they were widowed women.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, like for instance, Roy, he was a little taller, right? So mentally, he's obviously not
right. Like he has nothing wrong. Right. Nothing's wrong with his brain. He's just a tall guy.
Yeah, and so he's mixed in with all these crazies that were committing violent crimes and all that. And to me, that's just
all kinds of things.
Yeah, that just goes to show you what the times were back in those days. It was literally like the Wild West. Right. Anything goes. You could literally take somebody to this establishment and say, "Hey, here you go." And now you're putting somebody in there with a regular mental stability, regular way of thinking, logical reasoning. You're putting them in a spot where it is absolutely just not the best place for anybody to be.
Absolutely not. I mean, sane or insane. Like,
correct.
That is not a place you want to wind up.
It says this abandoned asylum was once the site of the Genesee County Poor Farm. Here, the disenfranchised and unwanted were given a home, but the grand facility had a dark side as well, including harsh conditions and patient mistreatment. Well, you know, that seemed to be the case back in the day with all of these asylums.
Right.
We could even go back to the Terrence Tower on Elmwood and South Ave that's been abandoned for just about 30 years, if not 30 years now at this point. Yeah, it's over 30 years. And all the things that we heard about those, and we'll talk more in depth about the Terrence Tower at one point or another, because that's another place that I don't believe we'll ever be able to go inside. It's just a safety hazard.
Right, at that point, I mean, it's not worth risking our safety for.
Correct. You know, and that's the one thing I will always say is safety first, because you go into a place that's falling apart, has asbestos in it, not the best. It's just not the best place to put yourself in.
No.
You know.
Nope.
But you know, with Rolling Hills, this place, if you go there, it's just, there's a lot to it. You could get lost in it. It is a place where my favorite place of this whole building was called Shadow Hallway. Mm-hmm. Because if you sit on one side of the hallway and you look, you could possibly see shadows. There's like an exit sign and all that. And I'm going to dive into some of the stuff that I, you know, not myself, but somebody I was with when we were there had an experience there. And it's amazing how somebody could sit there looking down the hallway and see something while somebody else looking down that same hallway doesn't
see it, right?
And that's what's nuts about that.
Right.
More about the asylum, though. The Genesee County Poor Farm was an actual farm, and at this self-sufficient facility, residents tended the land, animals were part of this, all the chores. The grounds resembled a reformatory. This was fairly common in the United States during the 19th and 20th centuries prior to the adoption of the Social Security program in the 1930s. You got to think, 1800s, man. A lot of things were a lot different than they are now, and a lot of people back in those times, they had a different way of life, different structure, different systems, different all that
completely stuff. Different belief systems.
Yeah. It says records exist of a cemetery located on the grounds, though it's never been discovered, and it was likely where the county buried those who had no family or money for burial. However, nobody knows where the cemetery is. So all these deaths that probably occurred at this property, probably a lot of undocumented deaths that happened here.
Absolutely, especially in the time period. I mean, this was built in started in like the 18-somethings.
Yeah.
1820s, I think it was.
It says here, when the Genesee County Poor Farm opened its doors in 1827, this was written about it in the Batavia Times newspaper.
Look at me nailing stuff. I did my homework.
Yeah. See? The following are eligible for assistance: habitual drunkards, lunatics, one who by disease, grief, or accident lost the use of reason or from old age, sickness or weakness was so weak of mind as to be incapable of governing or managing their affairs, paupers, a person with no means of income, state paupers, one who is blind, lame, old, or disabled with no income source, or a vagrant. Times have changed quite a bit since then, thankfully. The Rolling Hills Asylum, as it is now known, witnessed over 1,700 documented deaths on the property. Hundreds more likely occurred and were never recorded. Some say this is the second most haunted site in the United States. Not surprised by any of those claims.
No, not from what I've heard.
At all. And again, we go back to the cemetery. We go back to what that was about. Just think about how many people were lost, and just think about the unrest.
How does nobody know where it is?
That's a good question.
It's been how many years and not a single person has found this place?
Not a single person.
That's crazy.
It makes you wonder, right?
Right. Or maybe they're just not looking for it.
Well, that's the thing. So we go back to
at that point. Don't even mess with it. Leave that shit alone. We've seen too many scary movies about that shit.
Yeah. Well, we go back to the unrest part, like spirits that are unrest, right? Mm-hmm. The claim is that if they're, if they have unrest, that they're going to haunt. Again, we go back to all these things, like is it really the afterlife? Is it this? Is it that? And there's a lot of different conversations we will have down the road. But right now, with the theory of it being the afterlife that we're interacting with, when it comes to the paranormal, yeah, that's exactly what the belief is. And, it just goes to say that if you don't have a marker on your grave, that's not a good sign.
No.
That just means that, and I hate to say this, but a lot of people forgot about you and that you even existed.
Yeah.
Not to say that won't happen to the most of us, right? I mean,
in the grand scheme,
1,000 years from now,
right?
Who knows what the grave sites are going to look like?
If there are any, if there's anything left.
That's just it. But with that being said, let's talk about some more things about Rolling Hills. So, a few tragic stories have rolled out of Rolling Hills, each as heartbreaking as the last. One story involves a resident named Roy, who we've talked about just a minute ago. He lived with extreme gigantism and was well over 7 feet tall. The physical deformity distorted his face and made his hands and feet oversized. Roy was the son of a prominent banker in New York. His family considered him an embarrassment and sent him to live at the asylum. They brought him to the asylum when he was 12, and he died there at the age of 62.
Jeez.
He loved opera music, and other patients knew him as a kind, gentle-hearted man. Today, visitors see his hulking shadow lurking throughout the building. There are plenty of photos that I've seen out there that show a silhouette of a towering man just walking the hallways.
Wild.
And it is amazing.
That's so cool. And
just think about being the person that catches that.
Right. That's got to be so cool.
I never had the fortunate, I just never had that luck, I guess, of capturing that.
Right. I mean, you got to figure how many hundreds or thousands of people go there and how many of them actually do get something like that, I mean, the odds are not in your favor.
Yeah, not at all.
But
as far as I'm concerned, though, if you catch that type of thing,
that's awesome.
It is. It's amazing. That's the kind of evidence you want when you go on these investigations for the paranormal.
Right.
And
that's why we do them.
Yeah. And with Roy, it's like, I feel bad because, again, it's not like he was like criminally insane or anything like that.
Right.
It's just the size of this guy. At the age of 12, he was dropped off there. Just think about that. 12 years old, your parents, your family dropped you off.
He lived in there for 50 years.
Yeah.
And died at 62, you said, right? Or 60-something.
62.
Yeah, that's right. So 50 years.
Yeah. It's depressing.
Mm-hmm.
It says here, one story recorded by Weird, New Jersey comes from the owner of the building, Sharon. She tells a story about running into a rat in the infirmary about 2 months after moving into Rolling Hills. Terrified by it, she screamed and ran away. The very next day, she found the rat dead on the stairs, blood oozing from its mouth, as if its neck had been broken. On the wall above the rat was a giant bloody handprint. Sharon believes that the ghost of Roy witnessed her distress and killed the rat for her. What do you think of that?
That's a story. That's wild.
Yeah. This place caught my eye, especially when Ghost Hunters went here, Ghost Adventures.
Yep.
These notable teams have gone there, these investigator teams. And the one I will say that really caught my attention was Ghost Adventures. Mm-hmm. And you got to think, this is back, oh, God.
That was a while ago.
A long time ago. Mm-hmm. This is when Nick Groff was still with them.
Right. I remember the episode.
Yeah. And I remember the one part of the investigation where Nick was in the room. I forget what room it was. It might have been Emmy's room, who was a nurse. Mm-hmm. I remember the candles were there, and I remember the bloody scream that you heard, the blood-curdling scream, what sounded like an old lady screaming from the other side of the building. Do you remember that?
I feel like I do.
That right there was one of those things where I could just picture myself being in that asylum and just hearing that from one side to the other. Right. And it's just like, what would you do if you heard that?
I don't know.
And there's nobody else in the building like that.
Right. Right.
That was like, well, I need to go to this place. Mm-hmm. And so years after the fact, going in there, never heard it the 3 times I was there. But needless to say, though, I mean, that's one of the claims in this building is that you would hear that. Right. Which is insane.
Yeah, that's nuts.
There's other parts of the story to this building, like with Nurse Emmy and all that stuff. So here's some more of this. Some of the faculty were kind and well-intended, others not so much. One of the nurses in the infirmary, Nurse Emmy, became known for her absolute cruelty. As a result, both inmates and staff feared her. They even said she performed satanic rituals and black magic on the residents. Now, I heard some mixed stories on this. This is more so just kind of like hearsay at this point, from what I understand.
Gotcha.
I mean, is it true? Possibly. But, again, who knows? Right. And if that was the case, did it open more doors to activity in that building?
I mean, if that is true, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. I mean, anything having to do with black magic and voodoo and anything like that.
So there's been reports of Nurse Emmy that they say that she walks the halls of Rolling Hills still, and that visitors can still hear her cackling from her infirmary.
I mean, I believe that maybe she was abusive and beat people and stuff like that, but I don't know about doing all the black magic stuff.
Well, that's what I mean. How many times have we heard stories in asylums where the staff were beating and torturing?
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like that's it's almost surprising to hear that they didn't at this point in these places. I mean, it's like every single one of them.
Yeah, unfortunately, that when you got to understand, the living conditions of a lot of these asylums back in that time were not good.
Not good at all.
I mean, look at the.
I mean, honestly, nowadays are probably not much better.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of these things that we heard about, whether it be locally here or other parts of the country, it's never been good. And unfortunately, at the end of it all, that's kind of the reason why they don't exist now.
Right.
But with that, I mean, we see a lot of the craziness outside in society that. There should be some type of level of care that takes care of people that need this type of care, but
right. Well, you think that the people who work at these places would be there because they want to do those types of things, not just because they need a job.
Correct.
But, I mean, it's not just. I'm sure a lot of these people are also very hard to manage. So it's a bit of both, probably.
Yeah, I would say so. It says another paranormal hotspot in the asylum is Hattie's room, located on the first floor of the East Wing. Investigators have captured voice recordings in this room of an elderly woman yelling "hello." Some say it's the voice of a former patient named Hattie. Being blind, she would often yell out "hello" to get to the attention of the staff and nurses. Moving upwards in the building, the second floor men's dormitory is referred to as the shadow hallway. Visitors often see shadow figures moving from the corridor, and they walk in and out of the doorways, across halls, peek out from behind doors, and sometimes crawl across the floor. That's always been the claim. I have not really seen any shadow figures in that hallway. I spent a pretty good chunk of time in that hallway the 3 times I've been there. Never really seen anything there like that. But I would say the last time we went, I went with so my family and I went to this place. We investigated, and we were in the shadow hallway. And my dad said that he happened to see somebody in like older style clothing, like white older style clothing, walking down the hallway, and then just kind of disappeared. And he asked me, he goes, "Did you see anybody down there?" I said, "No. Didn't see a person, didn't see nothing."
Interesting.
Yeah. So he saw something, and it's wild because I didn't see it.
Right.
And maybe I wasn't paying attention to that side of the hallway at that point. I mean, maybe I was doing something else with equipment or something. I don't know.
Maybe you just weren't meant to see it.
Maybe I was just not meant to see it. It's like going back to what I was saying before, I think on the last episode, where there's people that have captured things on their equipment, but the person that's like literally right next to them or with them don't capture it.
Right.
It's like, what's that mean? Yep.
So, yeah, I don't know. The times I was there, it's kind of a crazy place. And it's a place that I will say I had a personal experience. There's like if I remember correctly, there's like a barber chair. And I sat there, and I remember feeling a sensation as I'm sitting in this barber's chair. And I have it on video. I forget which time it was. It might have been the first. It might have been the second. And I wish I could play it for you, but I can't because I don't want to take that risk. But I remember feeling the sensation of, like, you know, somebody kind of messing with your hair and your face. And I remember remarking about it as I'm sitting there in the chair. So, I mean, it is kind of weird. And you always hear people say things like, well, it feels like spider webs. And sometimes it will, you know. But it's just a weird feeling. I don't know how to explain it.
It seems like it's a recurring theme in these types of things. These unexplainable feelings, you know.
And that's just it. Like, I know you haven't been on an investigation yet.
No,
personally,
not intentionally. No.
Yeah, and
I've been in some weird places, but never on purpose.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for the day we can do this, you know, to start off. And I have an idea. I think, and I've been to this one place that's kind of nearby that I think would be a great spot to start. I've been there, 3 times now? Kind of a recurring theme there, right? 3 times? But no, this place
Make it
here,
number 4.
Yeah, I mean, this place that we'll look into, I definitely I think that would be a good starting point because of the history, because of the claims there, the activity. I think it would be a good spot to start off at, and you know, we'll definitely talk about that more on that side of it when we get closer to that. But you know, going back to Rolling Hills, you know, this place is foreboding. There used to be a room called the Christmas Room, and that room in particular, I believe, had some damage done to it, and I think they closed it off to the.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't think that room is accessible at this point in time anymore, but I do remember the Ghost Adventures went there when it was still it was still open. You know, it was still in existence, and from what I understand, they said that there was children in the room. They would, like, that's why the Christmas Room existed, I guess. But the fact of the matter is, though, is that when you hear a lot of things that include children voices and children activity or children-like activity, the general belief is that majority of the time it is not children, that it is something more sinister.
Okay.
You know, something that's more demonic, that's trying to play off of your emotions by acting like a child.
Feeding on your like empathy and
Correct.
right.
And that's just it. Like, you got to be careful with this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
People might like be a little too loose with this and say, "Oh, what's the big deal? It's all a joke." Like, to them, it's not real. Blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, you know, do you really want to test that theory? Do you really want to try to risk it?
Right.
I'm not the kind of guy who wants to risk it. I want to respect whatever I'm investigating and take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because at the end of the day, I don't want to be the guy who goes home and then has something follow me and then
Right.
find out, hey,
Just because I wanted to be an antagonist.
yeah, you know, it's just, I look at it this way. You go into a location, respect the people that own it, respect the property you're on and in, but respect what also resides in those spaces.
Right, because it is not your home. It is their home.
No, and that's just it.
They reside there.
Yeah.
You are a visitor.
It's kind of crazy, though, because, again, people will go to these places and maybe they won't experience anything.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, though, there's something obviously there, because how many people are making claims, like, and they're not always they're not all different claims. They're like a lot of similar, if not the same claims.
Mm-hmm.
You could have 100 people go in there, and the majority of them will tell you the same thing that they experience. What are the chances?
Right.
You know.
Right, and it's beyond like the placebo effect. You know what I mean? Where it's not like you're not putting those thoughts into every person there's head. You know, like if there's enough evidence from enough different people that, you know, it's not like somebody goes in there thinking they saw something because they were like predisposed to think that. You know what I mean?
Exactly. The morgue, of course, is another hotbed for ghostly activity at the asylum.
Shocking.
In this room, yeah, I know,
Not.
right? In this room stands a large embalming table, 2 large refrigerators, and a huge steel sink. The morgue is rife with paranormal activity to this day. Objects move on their own, and disembodied voices cry out. A few people have been attacked and even shoved by unseen hands, falling onto the cold tiles below. People have many theories regarding why the asylum is so haunted. For starters, this was the only home that many of the residents ever knew. Some of them lost their parents, their homes, their spouses. They built relationships and friendships at the asylum, getting through tough times with the other inmates here. And it says now their souls are attached to the property. It was home for better or for worse, and perhaps it still is. The spirits of Rolling Hills Asylum probably consider it just that, an asylum, a safe place. Why would they want to leave? So with the asylum, there's this morgue. And in the morgue, when we were there was a suit hanging in the morgue.
Okay.
And
like a suit?
Like a yes, a 3-piece suit.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it was hanging there. My dad was wearing a crucifix. And every time he stood in front of it, it would start turning away from him.
Huh.
I have it on video.
That's wild.
And it really bothers me. I can't play it on this. But it would, every time he would get back into like in front of it, it would start turning around again, like start rotating.
Interesting.
Like, how do you explain that?
That's wild. I mean, right. Like, how do you explain that?
Yeah. Like, he was just like, he was in front of it, staring at it, like just like kind of like standing face to face with this thing.
Right.
And it was turning, man.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was wild to see it in real time, just like witnessing this.
Right.
You know,
because like I mean, how do you, right? Because like even especially then, like when you're there, especially like how do you like what the fuck is going on?
Right. You could lay on the embalming table and all that too. I didn't manage to do that, but
I don't know if I'd want to do that.
Yeah, it's a little.
I'd be too afraid to intertwine my energies with something that's still there. You know.
Well, you got to think about how many people that died
right
on that table.
Right. Like that does not seem like a place that we need to be messing around with. That like.
And don't get me wrong, I'm all about like trying to do tests and try to do things to like
communicate.
Yes, or at least document evidence of the paranormal and the afterlife. But I think that's like a fine line of testing the waters when it comes to like you said, energies.
Well, right, and it all comes down to like what you were saying with respect.
100%.
Because it all depends on what energy you put into it. Because a lot of times, I mean, there's always the belief of the negative energies and spirits, but like the belief is, you go into it respectfully. Hopefully, you get the same in return.
Yeah. And the last thing you want to do is show that sign of disrespect, and then
right, and then
you
reap
start-
the benefits of that one.
Yeah. Well, there's claims that if you do lay on this embalming table, that you start feeling sick.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm
which,
good.
good.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't like being sick.
No, nobody likes that.
I'm good.
Yeah. But it is a weird place to investigate, is a morgue. But there was a time I remember going on, and this is before we even investigated this place. So the suit's always, I guess, been there for a long time.
Mm.
Somebody had, I don't know why, but somebody or a group of people had broken into Rolling Hills at one point and stole the suit that was in there originally.
Really?
Why? What makes you think that's a good idea? First of all, why, aside from it being morally wrong and criminally wrong,
Right. I mean, that's
Right?
a good one. Yeah.
but why would you go to a place that is notably haunted and go there and steal something?
Right. From one of the more
That is nuts.
notably haunted rooms or areas, anyways.
I mean, there's stories about other places out there that people have taken things from haunted locations, brought them home, and their life was never the same after that. Like, why would you take that risk?
That's like, I've always thought about that, like with Ed and Lorraine
Yes.
there, and they have the whole haunted museum of shit, and it's just like, are you out of your mind?
It's crazy.
Like, I mean, like, I understand the purpose, but like, that sounds like the worst idea. Like, really, like, tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I
Let's
will
just
not.
put all of the creepy haunted shit that we have found, possessed demon shit. Like, let's just all put it all in one room and just
Yeah,
nothing bad will ever happen there.
I would not. I would not want to risk that. I
Like,
think that's
nah.
insane. I think that would just be crazy to even try.
Uh-uh.
But it's just, to me, I'm not that kind of guy who's going to disrespect something like that, let alone whatever resides the location I'm at.
Right.
It's just not. It's not right.
Nope. That's in our nature.
You're asking for trouble. At that point, whether you believe in this stuff or not, you're asking for trouble.
I mean, not for nothing. I mean, you wouldn't just go into a conversation with a random person you just met,
No,
aggressive like that,
no. I wish we could investigate this and do an episode on that, but there's so much to that place. So, I forget where it was. It might have been the kitchen. There's a place where there's like these heavy doors, and if you go in the room, I don't know if it was like a padded cell. I don't know. It was some place where if you go in there and the doors close, you're in for a long, rude awakening because you won't be able to get out.
Oh.
You can't get them out. You can't get them open. I didn't go in those rooms just because I was just very weary on, okay, so if the doors do close, you're in there for
the night. That's
God
it.
knows how long.
Right.
But that's what they tell you. They don't close those doors because you're not going to get them open. That's crazy. To me, that's crazy.
Right.
I don't know what's more scary, walking down the hallways and just anticipation of something coming out,
Right.
or you experiencing something, or going in that room and then the door
And then
somehow
getting
closing.
locked in. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then God knows what happens after that.
Yeah, I don't know. That to me sounds like a bad time. But the location itself, though, you walk through these halls and you try to get a feel for the place. Like, you try to put yourself in their shoes.
Right.
I try to do that myself just so that way I don't know. I like to do that in the way of, like, if I go through an old building that's no longer in action or whatever you want to call it, I like to put myself in those shoes.
Right.
There's a place that existed here in Henrietta. It was a restaurant called the Cartwright Inn. We went there once for an investigation, and when we went in the kitchen area, it was almost like you saw it like dark with all the flashlights and the night vision on the camera and all that. And all of a sudden it was like, in my head, all I remember seeing is like how it would look when people were literally still working there.
Right.
And what it was like when it was still functioning. There was still liquor there.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's still liquor. I don't know. I think it's so far gone now that you can't even investigate this building anymore.
Right. I
this
feel like
back
a lot
in
of
2012.
I feel like a lot of these places are probably getting to that point now.
Yeah. So, but the one thing I will say is that this specific asylum, the upkeep is there, and I think it has to be. But that's why Sharon runs the place
Right.
Keeps it in shape and all that stuff. Because, at the end of the day, I know a lot of people have said some things like, oh, she's very particular and all that. And I've heard some stories personally, and I've actually been there a few times. And she got upset at one point where I was wearing a vest where I had all my equipment on me, because it's easier to just have a vest. But at the end of the day, she does feel passionate about that building.
Right. And I mean, not for nothing, but I mean, like you said, it's one of the most, if not, I think you said the second most haunted place in the United States, and I mean,
goes to say something, right?
Right. I mean, how many places are willing to allow people in to do these things even, so I mean, that in and of itself is such a cool thing, and that we have these availabilities to do these things, and to go and do these investigations. It's just like you said, it sucks that we can't, share all of it, but like you said, to respect the rules, like it's just like everything else, man. You respect everybody for their role,
Yeah.
For their space.
So from what I remember, it opened and was established in 1827, and it operated as a home infirmary until 1974, which that's a lot of years of being
1827 to 1974.
Yeah, that's a long time. Think about how many years of people.
It's like 150 years.
Think about how many people died there. And
I mean, they said that it was like 1,700 documented, and who knows how many hundreds of undocumented deaths.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Probably like 3,000 people, give or take.
Yeah, and to me, it's like when you look at that span of time. How many people live to be like Roy, for instance, 62. How many people live less than that?
Probably a bunch of them.
Yeah,
probably a bunch of them.
And for somebody in his condition, I mean, how rare is it for somebody to live that long?
Well, especially in asylums back before there was really like any idea what mental health was. I mean, more speaking on like the people who really were like, like seriously like schizophrenic and like really crazy and stuff. Their methods in the 1800s were not exactly humane.
No.
And that's pretty well known. So I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's probably plenty of deaths at, young ages, teenagers, 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
All the way up. So I mean, God knows.
Yeah, to me, and you got to think with all these people there, how many suicides happened there, right?
Probably a ton.
How many people were murdered there?
Probably a ton.
Again, we go back
or mistreated or abused.
Right. We go back to orphans being there, widows,
mm-hmm.
and then the criminally insane.
Mm-hmm.
And you put them all in one. You put them all under one roof.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, to me, it's kind of.
Then you throw in probably some nurses and stuff that had some power trips and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And again, when you go back to,
nobody's gonna believe the crazy people.
That's just it. Like when you go back to like nurses like Nurse Emmy and all that, it's, to me, how many nurses were out there like that? Aside from all this witchcraft stuff and all that they were talking about, how many nurses were out there mistreating?
They were just fucked up, right?
Yeah.
They're just doing fucked up shit to people.
Yeah. To me, and all this bad energy, of course you're going to get some type of activity.
Mm-hmm.
It's just,
there's too much negative energy. There's too much emotional energy, I feel like, in such a small quarters that, like, of course, like you said, of course something's going to manifest there.
Yeah.
How could it not?
Right. I'm interested to see how many people have investigated this Rolling Hills Asylum and, what your story is. It's a lot harder to talk about these things without the footage. I wish I was able to utilize the stuff that I had actually documented. I don't want to, again, go back to that and risk anything like that because, again, I don't know.
Well, in future episodes too, we'll be able to include more visual things with it as well, and that is the plan. So I mean, we'll get there. It's just we wanted to start with this one because this was a close to home one for us, and something that we felt passionately about that we wanted to at least cover because, like you said, we probably wouldn't get the chance to go there. So I mean, we figured let's cover this now, and then we'll do some other ones where we can get a little more in depth in the engagement to the visual side of things and that type of stuff. So
100%.
That'll be cool.
Yeah. Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the episode. Please do us a favor and head on over to the YouTube channel if you're not there already and hit that subscribe button and smash the bell. Why? Because that helps us grow and it helps you get notified when we go live and upload new content like this episode that you're watching and listening to right now. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.